What is up, you beautiful, blessed boys and girls? Welcome to the channel, guys. This could be a most fired up video ever. Today, we're talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It's one that I see a lot of these low testosterone, low energy guys recently been having a battle with online, saying that fatherhood and marriage, it's a trap. Your testosterone goes down, you lose yourself. You basically, your life is completely over the day you decide to get married and have a family. I think it's just the opposite, man. I think that my life started and I've done some really cool things in my life. But to be honest, nothing compares to the joy of fatherhood or the joy of building a life and a legacy with a woman that you love. So I think we need to change this narrative. We need to stop giving these losers and these jokers clicks and things like that. It's become real popular to get this. I'm going to give you guys the one thing. There's only one thing you got to do today to have a thriving marriage, have this kind of on fire family and home. So let's dive in and let's talk about this together. How this whole thing started was, a week or so ago. I see online, it's just really popular. Some really big popular influencers. This really racist guy, Nick Fuentes, who's, by the way, I'm just going to put up a picture of this guy. If you get married, you lose all your testosterone. We kind of went back and forth. There was some Andrew Tate and saying, oh, I agree with that. Marriage is a trap and a prison, and you shouldn't even be raising your own kids. They shouldn't sit at your own table. Should be the men doing the men things. And bro, this stuff is such garbage. It's such trash, but it does get a lot of clicks. So I ended up going back and forth with this guy. Myron from the Fresh and Fit podcast came and chimed in and saying, you shouldn't be raising other people's kids, kind of taking digs at me for doing foster care and adoption and things like that. So felt like I went through a little bit of a war back and forth with some of these people, but it really highlighted an issue to me. And if I'm honest, I don't like to get involved in these things, something I might do once or twice a year. This is a thing I'm going to stand up for. That fatherhood, that being married in an on fire, locked in home there's literally nothing better on earth. And you can talk to super successful people who have gotten to do super cool things. I see Charlie Kirk is a guy I look up to who says this a lot. I've ridden on Air Force One. I've done all these cool things and all these events. Nothing is better than coming home and being a dad and a husband. Comic Dave Smith is a guy who's been on Joe Rogan many times. He talks about this all the time too. And I think it's just we need to come back and have these things where we say we're taking back this narrative. This isn't a thing where, oh man, you get married, it's the old ball and chain. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have sex once every 3 months. Now, that can happen. Trust me, I see a lot of guys in this. I was warned about this myself. If you don't lead yourself. And I think some of these guys that say this, man, it's just an indictment on them. It has nothing to do with their wives or their children. They just lost themselves. You know what, man? It's easier to lay on the couch than it is to get up and go to the gym. It's easier to lay there and zone out to football with your beer and feel like your kids are annoying you than it is to get up and go have a scavenger hunt or a dance party or chase them around, have a squirt gun battle, whatever that is. But I promise you, it's infinitely more fun to go the other way. So how do we get to this point is kind of what I want to know of how we just depict dads as this sort of miserable thing, Well, I think society does it. You got the Peppa Pigs, you got the Homer Simpsons, you got all these TV shows in the 90s and 2000s where it was sort of the dad was kind of taking all the brunt of this and just looked miserable. And they started making fatherhood instead of this heroic, awesome thing look like something that, your life does end. And again, I'll be honest, when I got married, I had people telling me, oh, bro, your life's over. This is it. And looking back, I see those guys as just completely lazy. Just completely lazy, man. They stopped growing themselves. You want to know what's a very attractive quality in human beings? It's pushing yourself. It's growing. Why do you think I set goals all the time? Why do you think I'm 41. I'm in close to the best shape of my life and I'll keep getting better, right? Because man, that's an attractive quality to people. And so if you're not leading yourself, this is the tip for dads, you lead yourself, man. My wife gets up at 6:15 every day. I'm gone. I'm already to the gym. I've already read my Bible, hit the gym, checked in with clients, hitting the sauna, hitting a walk. I'm hitting all these wins for myself so that by the time I get back home, it's not like I wake up at 6:40 when my family wakes up and now I'm stressed because my kids need things and my wife wants things and all these. Dude, I've already filled myself up. So I'm the best version of me. And when I walk in, now it's like a whole different ball game. I'm leading my home. I can throw them up. I got energy, right? This is the greatest thing that dads can do. And I think this is an underlooked thing and something people don't talk about enough. Now, look, I'm just going to tell you, I can empathize a lot with guys that think they're stuck in this, right? Man, like, dude, me and my wife only do have sex once every month or two. It's just everything's, man, I just kind of feel like my kids don't respect me, right? Man, I'm trying to do some of these things and it doesn't really work. Well, I'll tell you, I can empathize a lot with you because I was there. the first 2 years in the marriage with my wife, I honestly said, this is a scam. Like, this isn't what I signed up for, right? I'm going to this job that I don't necessarily love every day. I'm coming home and then I'm having to do all these chores. I don't feel like we're connecting in a way that we should. We got new kids. We never, there was all these things kind of going on. I thought this is kind of a scam, man. What did I sign up for? I'm nervous here, right? And then I read one book that completely changed my life. And if you want this one tip, this is it, man. I ain't gonna run an affiliate thing on it, but you read this book, Extreme Ownership, Jocko Willink, an amazing dude. And I think this book is more meant for business. But when I started reading it and taking notes on it, the first thing that hit me is, oh my gosh, man, the way that me and my wife are communicating and not is my fault. I'm blaming her for things that are my fault. If I want to go out with my guys and I feel like, man, I'm just kind of trapped at home and every day is the same, it's my duty to sit her down and communicate with her how important it is for me to get out with the guys and do my thing sometimes. Most amazing thing happened when I did that. She gave me a big hug and said, "Me too. I would love to do this." And now we give each other days off all the time. And so, it always comes back to that ownership piece of you. And look, if you're a boy, I think this is what separates boys from men. I got two toddlers, they're boys. It's never their fault. Never, oh, my brother did this, he hit me, you're mean. Boys blame. If you want to be a successful dad and in a successful marriage and have this kind of like, man, I wake up and I'm the best version of me, and now I get to impact these tiny little humans and my wife around me, and it's amazing. That's where it starts, is the ownership piece. I always tell guys, and I approach this as from this way, I'm the CEO of my family. They're going to go as I go. So I run my family similar to the way I run a small business. Very intentional with what we want to do, how we want to do it, always talking to my wife, creating that best life for all of us. You know how fun that is? You know how exciting that is to build something with the woman that you love more than anybody on earth? She picked me out of 4 billion dudes on the planet and that trusts me to have that kind of leadership for our family. There is nothing better on earth than that. You can't be one of these guys sitting on the couch telling your kids you're disappointed in them because they're on screens too much when you watch 30 hours of TV a week. They're seeing what you do. There's a reason my kids follow me outside. There's a reason my daughter just did 70,000 steps in one day. She woke up at 1:15 in the morning to do it with me. She seen me do 100,000 steps last year. She wants to do things that I'm doing. Your kids do too. You know how cool and exciting that is? You get to do fun things with them. I look, one of the wisest guys I've ever seen. He had this really awesome tweet a little while back. It was Zuby, and good buddies with Zuby, and he said, the best marketing tool for anything, he used the example of Christianity, is how the people that say they're Christians act. So, man, if I see somebody and I say, well, he says he's a Christian, but man, he's always down in the dumps. He's 400 pounds and he's miserable, but he's always talking about being a Christian. Now, not that you can't be overweight and still be a Christian, but just stay with me here. Why do I want to be a Christian? Why? And so I think, is our duty sort of as Christians to say there's something different about them. How can I not have joy when, if I really believe what the Bible says and Jesus died for my sins, he paid the price for me. I get to have eternal life with him. So much. There should be joy exuding. There should be peace. Doesn't mean you all have this figured out one day, but if you're really growing towards the Lord and seeking that, I'm not sure how the fruits of the Spirit don't start to come out of you more. And so people should see us as Christians and think, man, I want what they have. The world's chaotic. There's all this political and unrest and maybe World War III and all. How are you so peaceful and joyful and happy? And how do you have these things? Well, let me tell you about Jesus. That's where I go. And so, if we take this in a different sense and say, well, what's the best marketing tool for being a dad or being a parent? It should be the way that dads and parents interact. Why, my wife and I talk about this all the time. We want our kids to grow up in such a fun home that they just like get to be 17, 18, 20, and they're like, dude, I can't wait to have a family with the right person. I can't wait until God brings that person in my life and we get to start having kids. And it's amazing and it's fun because we had all these fun adventures and memories and all these things that were due as a kid. So, if you find yourself being on that other side complaining, I would just ask you to reframe that. Like everything in life, you're going to get out what you put in. And if you're this guy who's waking up and snoozing his alarm and laying around and severely overweight and not not really doing the things that improve yourself. And, you just go to the office and kind of get by and just your kids kind of annoy you. So you just tell them to scram. And you know what? Your wife always feels naggy. So you don't put in the work and, all these things, man. Well, that's just an indictment of you. That has nothing to do with marriage and parenting. You just got lazy, and you would have gotten lazy if you got married and had kids or not. So you can lie to yourself and maybe say that the parenting or that whatever, it's just nonsense. Winners find a way and losers complain. And that's the one big thing is you got to take ownership that it's on you. And so guys, I'm telling you, let's change this narrative and let's change this message. Fatherhood is the greatest thing in the world, man. I hung this thing up. My dad is smarter than Iron Man, stronger than Hulk, faster than Superman, braver than Batman. Dad, you're my favorite superhero. That's what I just got for my 41st birthday from my angel. She's 9. Dude, who, like, you tell me, you give me nightclubs or shiny cars. I've had all that stuff. Getting this was the coolest thing I've ever gotten in my life over all those toys and things, man. We need to start talking about this stuff, how awesome fatherhood, how awesome parenting is, and take that narrative back. So, a few things that I think we just need to all kind of agree upon moving forward is number one, tune these guys out, these losers, these nonsense guys telling you don't get married, it's a trap, it's a prison. If anybody says that to you, I just look at guys that sort of say that to me now, and I'm like, you're indicting yourself. You're low energy. You don't put good things into it. Look at these guys, Patrick Bet David. Look at these guys that are just crushing life in every way, man. And what does Patrick Bet David say that I love? My opponents are going to read 2 books, I read 4. My opponents are getting up at 5, I get up at 4. My opponents are making 100 sales calls, I make 200. I literally approach marriage and I approach fatherhood and my family is the same thing. I'm a competitive guy and I tell my wife all the time, I'm going to keep getting better as your husband. I'm going to keep getting better at this thing. This is a desire of my heart for us to be 90 years old one day, God willing, and you to look back and say, holy cow, I thought it was great when we were 40, but man, those next 50 years, you just got better and better. Start approaching it with that kind of mindset and watch your family take off. Second thing, and it doesn't work without this, the ownership piece. You got to decide that it's not your wife's fault. It's not your wife's fault that she nags you when you want to go out with your friends. It's your fault you didn't sit her down and explain this is why it's so vital that I get out with my friends. I love being a dad. But when every day is sort of the same, I need that break. It's your fault if you're not having as much intimacy as you like. It's your fault to sit your wife down and have a hard conversation. Say, this is the way. I remember sitting my wife down saying, let me introduce you to my brain. It's going to blow you away. Here's how often I think about this stuff. Here's what I desire, right? You got to have some of those hard talks in a marriage if you want to get to where you want to go. I'll end it with this. It's one of my favorite tweets of all time. He was the first ever guest on my podcast, Steven. It's That Fit Lawyer on YouTube. I love this guy. He put out a tweet 5 years ago that kind of changed my life and the way I thought about family and fatherhood. And it was, hey, dads and husbands, I challenge you to lead your families on adventures. Like, have your kid get to the end of every week and be like, man, we took some cool adventures. And I didn't know that this, I kind of started thinking different about the way I approached it. But what's really cool to me is, man, it's as much fun for me as it is the kids to do all these fun things. And, even staying in shape, I always say, dads complain to me I don't have time. And I'm like, guys, buy a $1 little squirt gun, buy 5 of them. I take them to the park, I give them to my boys, I give them to other people that are playing with us, I say, chase me. For the next 40 minutes, you guys can squirt me as much as you want. But I got 10,000 steps. I'm running around, we're laughing, we're bonding, we're having little adventures. I'm hiding, I'm sneaking up, I'm tickling them, I'm squirting them back. Dude, you can have so much fun. And again, you'll get out of it what you put in. So we need to change this narrative. We need to reject all this societal stuff about your life ends when you get married and sex ends and all these things, man. And it's just simply not true. Parenting, being a dad, being a husband is the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. And I've been to nightclubs where we had $50,000 tabs. I've done some pretty cool stuff, traveled all over the world. It's not close. It's not 1/100th of how awesome it is to have a woman that you love, you would die for in a second, a family that you love, you die for in a second, have them love you just as much, and you're building this awesome thing together. There's nothing better. So I urge you guys to go have the greatest day of your life. Maybe you're a guy that feels sort of stuck in this. Feel free to reach out. I'll help you as much as I can. Send you some good resources and some things that work for me to shift my mind around, but it all starts there with your mind. You take ownership and you lead like a CEO. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You go have the greatest day of your life. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Let's go get it.